Hello, welcome to MSR Research Colloquium 2023. We are in the last session, session 16, and this is the keynote speech by Dr. Anirban Bandyopadhyay. He is a material scientist based in Japan. He is world's leading quantum tunneling researcher and a leading expert in consciousness from Vedic as well as quantum neuroscience perspectives. He has designed and implemented an artificial brain, and he's published a lot of books and lots of papers, and is friends with a lot of very high quality researchers in the consciousness area. His title is very interesting. It's about because he defines brain as sort of essentially the level of nested cycles of time. So he says Kalchakra, or nested cycle of time, to quantum mechanics. How are worldviews changed to ancient Vedic practices? So, and just a brief introduction is that in the classical world, we could walk along a path, look at the trees, houses, and animals. If there are trenches, we cross them by making bridges. We could even jump. As soon as the world is changed into quantum one, the road disappears. Only thin lines remain, where we could run and run and run. Except those scary lines, outside we have deep trenches. We cannot jump. We cannot make bridge. Only disappear on one path and reappear on the other. That's quantum tunneling kind of thing. The trees do not appear as a whole. Some parts of the tree here, some parts there. My body experiences the same. In this world, we have only one hope: rhythms or time cycles. Classical clocks have vanished and given us clocks that allow me to vibrate within and generate many cycles of time, one for one path, another clock structure for another. This unique kalchakra is the prescription of our journey in the world. It's a mode of communication, and managing those clocks is the management of survival. This was a Vedic wisdom adopted in the quantum universe. Thank you, Anirban, for joining us, and we'd love to have you begin presenting. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Anil. And so I know this is the last session, and you must be very tired after listening to many great stories. So I would like to share the story of our journey to build an artificial brain. So in 2005, I started, and in 2012 and 2013, until then, I was not much aware of the Vedic scriptures and others. And some of the results that I found by measuring the quantum vibration in the proteins, microtubules, deep inside the neuron. I used to call them musical strings, which vibrate and generate human consciousness. Then I started delving deep into the Vedic literatures, and then still I am a student and I'm learning Vedic sciences, but I have tried to present it in such a way that the way I have seen it. So it doesn't mean that it could be the absolute truth or absolute presentation, but it is the way we have seen it from the perspective of experimental physics and trying to build an artificial brain in the lab or quantum computer. So you can see in your left side of the screen, there are some circles. I tend to speak in terms of circles because it's a fate cycle, and it try to come back. Suppose you have a circle and you are standing on the perimeter somewhere, and you try to come back to the same point. So if it happens once and twice, thrice, always, you get a kalchakra. So it's a dynamic phase. It's a classical world. So once you return to the same point, you have no memory left. How many times you rotated along the circle? So this is our classical worldview. But there was a young Indian kid. He was 22 years, doing PhD in Calcutta, Pancharatnam, long back. And he said that, look, in the quantum world, we cannot have that. We can start from a circle, but we can never reach to the initial point. Those who are aware of the Vedic literatures and wisdom, you can understand where he got this idea. So he coined the term geometric phase. At the very young age, he died. Otherwise, he could have got the Nobel Prize. But Beri Pancharatnam phase. Much later, Beri got the Nobel Prize, and he was already dead at that point of time. But he came up with this unique concept that you cannot return to the initial point, but you always try to reach the point where you started. So you get a spiral. So you see spiral in the DNA, spiral in the microtubules, spiral even in your collagen. You find spirals in the galaxies, everywhere. The vortices form because this is a fundamental property of the universe, that you try to reach to the initial point and you cannot. So it is called the geometric phase, and it is the foundation of quantum mechanics. And it was also the foundation of the Kalachakra. And Vedic wisdom is something that I can talk days after days, how a 7,000 years of history of a Hindu history is written, and debates and scholars have argued about this cycle of time. It starts from Shiva and Shiva and Brahma's fight, great fight, what happened in Varanasi and in Kashi, current Kashi today. But somehow down the line, there are many hypotheses there went on how the universe would be formed. But in the current world, in the 1930s, 1940s, a new worldview was given to us, that any information in the universe, whatever it is could be written on a line, bit by bit, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, sequentially. It is possible. So it's the Turing hypothesis. Whatever you see the modern science today, like equations and other cases, our computers, all the machines that you see, and human civilization has progressed so much. Everything is based on that particular philosophy, that every single information in the universe is written, could be written on a tape, on a line. So when I started seeing the proteins, measuring the protein vibration, I found that in the picosecond time domain, they were vibrating. When proteins self-assemble and create some strings, vibrations in nanoseconds, and when they integrate in microseconds, when they integrate in milliseconds, when they integrate and more than 50 milliseconds or above, we get more than neurons, and then we reach to the level of consciousness. So there is a clock inside a clock inside a clock inside a clock inside a clock. And the objects or materials, a musical instrument inside that, many musical instruments inside that, many musical instruments, or something like that. When I saw that, then I felt that the way we are looking at nature, way we are trying to live our life or making decisions, may be fundamentally totally flawed. It's not the opposite that I'm saying of the Turing hypothesis. I'm saying orthogonal. Under any circumstances, you cannot reach. Because if you are going within and above, you cannot make the differentiation. It's undefined. The single cell of a Turing tape is undefined. So how our Vedic rishis have organized this world of looking within and above, just like Virata Purusha. So whole universe is a living life form, that is Virata Purusha. And you have many, many layers of consciousness within and above this whole network. So in the left side, the cycles that you are seeing, so we have patented and we have developed a new kind of language we call geometric musical language. So what we do is we look at every single thing that are happening in the universe and trying to come back to the same point. So what we do is we only register those events which are repeating or trying to repeat itself and connect them in the geometric shape. Say I have a triangle and I can have 3 clocks in its corners. So this is the language. So in this language, I have tried to see the Vedic wisdom, okay? And in the left side, you are seeing is a Pralaya Chakra. Pralaya Chakra means universe goes through the creation and destruction. So in this path, what happens, you might have seen many places in the Southeast Asia, there is Vishnu's Ananta Sajja. So just before this lecture, I was talking to Anil, and I was telling that in Hindu worldview and the decision making, we don't look at 0, 1, 0, 1, something dead bits or some logic gates where human intuition is used. No. We have a very defined mathematical structure of Purusha and Prakriti. And what we do is we have 3 properties, fundamental properties: Sattva, Raja, and Tama. So normally when we were kid, my mother or any Hindu family, your mother or parents or friend, they teach you something like, oh, you want to get up early in the bed and you do it naturally, then you are sattvic. And if you are little late and you jump on from the bed, what I have done, and then you try to transform yourself, is Rajasic, and you sleep, whatever will happen is Tamasic. So that's the worldview I have. That's the knowledge I got from my parents. But much later, when I started studying, then I understood it's totally fundamentally different. When 2 elements have a bonding or attraction, then it is Tamasic. When one object transforms into another, say triangle becomes a square, it's Rajasic. And when a set of elements that project to the infinity and get back some information, which is totally transformed, playing with the infinity and coming back, seeing the projection into itself, is Sattvic. So if you want to study further, I would like to request you to read Vijnana Bhikshu's literatures, and there are several doctoral theses published from Calcutta University. You can find online and you can read about them. So how this cycle goes on goes on something like, you see there is a circle, and then there are 3 circles, Sattva, Raja, Tama, and these 3 of them are fundamentally necessary. So if any element of decision making you are creating, you are trying to make any decision, if you don't have all 3 fundamental elements, it's a very bad thing. So in a good human being also, you should have these three types of properties. And this Maharshi Kapil was one of the early Vedic period. He's a Sankhya Darshana, or statistical analysis of statistical mathematics, and then how the universe could be created. He did a lot of research on that. And then if you go through his hymns, you will find that this Sattva, Raja, Tama, these 3 circles, they contract and expand. You can see some people might have big S, sattvic properties, little tamasic and rajasic, but it continuously contracts and expands. And in the universe, at every moment, at the very fundamental level, this is continuously changing and happening. Happening to whom? Brahman, the fundamental energy element that surpasses all over the universe. And they integrate and come together. During the pralaya, of course, first sattvic, the looking at the future and taking the projection, goes away. Then tamasic properties, bonding, goes away, and rajas, the transformative property, remains. And that structure is in the Vishnu's Ananta Sajja. So you can find it, lots of literatures, how all the Rajaguna, when it remains there, why we reach into that. So this is kind of an introduction of and summary of, say, 7,000 years. Because if you look at the pottery structures in a Harappan civilization, Harappan excavation, you can find on the pots, they drew this kind of beautiful geometries and then geometric transformation and stories of this Shankadarshan and others. So when it came, we don't know, but at least pre-Harappan era sometimes, because Harappan people knew about this kind of things and many kind of Puranic events. So let's go to the right side of it. So there are 8 different ways how decisions get. So mostly I would like to emphasize on Maharshi Gautama's Vaisheshika Sutra, because Western historians, they used to put time, everything should be on. You will find in our history, 400 BC, 400 BC, 400 BC, as if like nothing was there before 400 BC, because Greeks didn't exist. How could any literature can happen anywhere in the world? But Vaisheshika Sutra may be very old. So Maharshi Gautama's Vaisheshika Sutra, he argues about how to make a decision. So when we were kids, and anywhere you go to the management school where Anil gives teaching, then he would say that, okay, think logically. Look at the fact. Where is your fact? You will find that in the Western media, when they are debating, based on fact, and then fact, where is it? So Maharshi Gautama's period, if you go, and then I believe in his way of looking at completely orthogonal to the Western civilization, and that is, when you go somewhere and you have a problem, don't look at the facts, look at the biggest confusion you have. And he defined it in a very nice way. He said, what is confusion? And the definition, and I would like to suggest that don't read any Indian literature, go to the German philosopher Nietzsche or something, Nietzsche, whose work is Doctrine of Doubt. If you read his book, you can understand the how to build a new kind of decision-making culture, new kind of computer, and could be a whole new civilization from Maharshi Gautama's Vaisheshika Sutra. And how to do that is you go there, the Doctrine of Doubt says, the definition is so beautiful. When you have a contradictory situation, that both are possible in the same source and completely different outcome. And this kind of situation, when you encounter in your life, you see that all possibilities are equally probable. And even if you have the single premises and single elements in your environmental condition, still you end up in a multiple different views. Then that is called confusion. And you find the biggest confusion, and then you go inside, find out some more confusions, and then go inside, take one of them and go on and on and on. And then you will reach a, what happened? Why can't I? Okay. Okay. So in this slide, in the center, you can see I have drawn a cartoon that you go inside and inside and inside. You keep on going until you reach the fact. When you reach the fact, you stop. Because what we are doing in our world, what we are taught, that you collect the fact and use your intuition or imagination to connect those facts, build a model or hypothesis, and then you go and do practical experiment and verify it. But the approach, the way Hindu scholars were doing it in a very different way. So it was something like you build up this this architecture, and this is the solution of the problem. It is not at the bottom level collecting the fact and integrating it. Because of the lack of time, I will not get into very details, because I would like to pass you through. So suppose imagine that whole universe has become just dust or energy particles or something. Nothing exists, and you are God. And somebody asks you, create the universe. Of course, Vedas started asking question, what was before the creation? God, where were you? I mean, did you? They say that you know everything. Do you? So so suppose you have all these tiny dots and points. So Jatpindate tat Brahmande. So if you take a 1 point and you have to create the whole universe within. How do you do that? Let's try to create this, because we want to create a kind of computer, an artificial brain that can think, that can decide by itself all about the universe. It doesn't need to write a code or written instruction. The world of these facts and logic is basically your forced intuition and implementation on the subject. So regarding that, I would like those who want to study more about this particular part of philosophy, It from Bit by Wheeler. You should read this 1989 paper on how we take those facts and interpret in our own way, and we create our own bias, and we ask others that you see in the way I am looking at nature, then they say, yes, when I saw it in the way you saw it, you saw nature, so I found the same thing that you observed. So the other person, I would say, he has reproduced my result. So my result is authentic. This is natural. So he is arguing, if you don't know Wheeler, he got the Nobel Prize, but 6 of his PhD students also got the Nobel Prize. And one of the student name, you know very well, his name was Richard Feynman. Anyway, so his literatures, if you find, absolutely, I'm a big fan of him. He's kind of my idol scientist. So he is arguing that, look, the scientific proposals or the scientific theory that we are taking by reproducing, you don't have to jump like this is the true picture of nature, because this is a political hegemony of a particular way of looking into nature. Anyway, so what I'm suggesting is now that you take 1 point and then you put 2 points, 3 points, 4 points, arbitrary number of points into that point, and you try to arrange them. What can you do about it? Say you can take, say, for an example, 6. You see, I have written 2 into 3, 3 into 2. So basically, you can take 2 balls at a time, 2 points at a time, and then you create 6, and 3 balls at a time, you can 6. In this way, for all the integers, you can find how many ways you can arrange them. And if you rotate this paper, you get this temple-like architecture. So this is the core structure of all possibilities that we can have in a system. And this is actually what we followed to build an artificial brain or the computer or other kind of decision-making, self kind of decision-making. How do we do that? It's a little different, but I would like to tell that you can take different, for every prime, it is 0. So you do not make any choice. And you can make different kind of, depending on different primes, you can make different kind of temple structures. And I'm trying to build some of them in India, in Shimla. And I will show you. So basically, when you rotate it, you get the temple structures, and then you can create, taking all the possibilities, the Kalachakras, the cycle of geometric phase cycles, and then you can integrate them. So it is as if you have Purusha, where you have all mathematical probabilities. That is the ideal thing. And when you try to integrate the conclusions from them, you create a Prakriti. So let's skip the symmetries and let's get to the brain model. So once we understood that we can't leave any component of the brain out, we have to take everything, because everything is connected to everything. Then we have to do science for this, right? You have heard this, everything is connected to everything so many times. Whenever you listen to any speaker, you get bored, because whatever you are feel from, you understand very well. This scientists make a big talk. They don't do it something in reality, but I really did. We in our laboratory for the last over a decade, we have created a brain database called www.brainrhythm.org. All the brain structures are free to download. You can do, and you do your research. No need to acknowledge ours. No need to acknowledge us. And all the brain structures we took neurons, we took microtubules, we took hippocampus, we took spinal cord, everywhere. And then, what we found, I wrote a book, Nanobrain, how to build an artificial brain from time crystal. And I went on to look into the prime numbers. I mean, really. So I found that we have 47 Brodmann's region, 31 spinal cord, microtubule number of strings 13. I used to see only the prime numbers. You see the look, you were biased. You were biased towards the prime number. That's why you were seeing it, because the prime numbers are there, you vibrate and you can do a lot of things. But I'm not. Actually, I entered into this domain later. In 2014, before I talked about anything, you can find all my lectures from 2008-9 in YouTube until now. but you will never find that I talked about prime and then Vedic literatures and anything before 2014. I was measuring microtubule and checking these vibrations. To the right side, extreme right, in the screen, you can see the so electric and magnetic periodic oscillations that are happening in those particular components. So I did the measurement on microtubule, and when I saw, I found there are 3 bands of time domain: millisecond, microsecond, and nanosecond. And if I go inside, I find a discrete, isolated split time, just exactly that Anil was reading out my abstract. Then you saw that he was saying that my body part should be different places, like the avatar concept in Vedic wisdom. And then together I exist. So, Hanuman left his quality somewhere else. Hanuman came to this planet, and then he lost it and reminded, and then it was connected. So even the properties of different part, it is connected. It's so beautiful when you read it. Then you find that the fundamental premises of quantum, how beautifully it is there. So we need to add a little bit, and then we can reach to the prime. So what I wanted to say is that in the discrete time, I get 3 bands inside that 3. So triplet or triplet. And I go inside, I find 12. So total 108. So when I was presenting 108 peaks, that 108 peaks I am seeing in the proteins, I'm seeing in the neurons, I'm seeing everywhere in the brain systems. I do experiment, I do theory continuously. And when I presented it, I came down, and there was one person, he took out from his bag one book, and the title of the book is 108. So he gave it to me, and he said that he's a Jain, and I didn't know anything about 108. Then I called my mother from US. I was in US, and then my mother is in India. I called her and then said, "Do we have 108 everywhere?" I said, "Yes, in Durga Puja we give 108 lotus to Durga." And then this Rudraksh garland that we have for japas, we have 108. We have 108 talas, 108 fundamental raga to compose music, 108 dance forms of Shiva, Shiva's Nataraja dance, and then others. I will not get into that, but I would like to tell you that when we sincerely looked into it, I've not come here to give sermon like everything is connected to everything. We have gone to every single level, and you see the spheres, all these things. You don't need to understand much, but these are, the big sphere is the slowest clock, and then slowly you go above and you find the smaller clocks. So any component you go, you find this clock architecture. The architecture of clock is what the fight was between Brahma and Shiva. Shiva had 5 different structures of clocks. I will not get into that today, and their debate, and then they had a fight, and then 64 yogi and the yoginis came, and then the architecture of time. And the architecture of time in Indian philosophy, if you want to learn more, learn about the research works done on Kali and Kala. So Kali is Kala's wife, and Kali is considered as dark and then controlling the whole universe, but it is the structure of time. So if you go to the Hindu time scale, when it is not linear, it is not non-linear, you will find very, very unique point. There is a unit of time. Like you go from Truti 10 to the power minus 7 second, but you go to Pala. So the Truti and Pala is the distance, and then you go to the 10 to the power 22 years, that is 1 Brahma. If you go there, you will find that absolutely different, but you will find that is very close to the Purusha structure I showed, that all the possibilities of the universe in a temple-like structure. So I bypass symmetry. So the whole brain is now, everything is connected to everything in the time domain. So the structure of time that connects all. Yes, so it is, the feeling would be something like this. For some reason, it is not playing. Okay, so when we understood that, we had to build artificial brain. You can see the spinal cord, all the components, it's like a resonator, because we know that everything is a clock architecture, right? So if I know that everything is a clock architecture, why not build it? So it will be very close to the brain. It will not be a conscious machine, but very, very close to what we have. At least then we can compare with us, putting one machine on the top of the brain. But you see, I had to improvise, because 1875 EEG machine was discovered, using which EEG you measure consciousness and all these kind of things. EEG measures only 1 to 40 hertz. But what I said, clock inside a clock inside a clock inside a clock inside a clock. It's not a Turing machine kind of thing. It's a kind of Maharishi Gautama's clock doctrine of doubt that we are implementing. So we need entire time domain. So we created a new machine. We call it Duodeconogram. Why duodeconogram? Duodeca is 12 different bands. Why? I will not discuss it today because of lack of time. But this 12 different time architectures we have to see simultaneously, and only then we can understand the conscious behavior or something that is happening. So we created the brain. We invented this kind of machine. We call it a DDG. So we take a snapshot of higher dimensions. So we connect it to your brain, and then we look into different places. But if you look at the DDG and EEG comparison, you will find in the central part of the brain, and then different key points are there where we measure the high frequency. So basically, to try to understand this, your conscious experience happens 50 milliseconds, okay, and your neuron fires 1 millisecond. This is current mainstream science. Neuroscience tells you before millisecond nothing is happening. So we are fighting. So I'm going to US on 17th in a conference. The neuroscience needs a revolution. Why? Because you say the neuron skin is doing everything. So we have been working and publishing since 2015, 2016, measuring the neuron skin and then inside the vibrating strings. So there are microseconds, something is happening. And for those events to happen, there are some nanoseconds, some events are happening. And for nanoseconds, there are some other events are happening in picoseconds. And then for picoseconds, there are some femtosecond events that are happening. So this is a connection. So we need to see the whole band, how it is evolving, to understand the conscious expression of a human being. And with a simple set of instruments, we can do that. We will not look into one millisecond. We will go faster. Why? Since after 1875, nobody has thought about it and nobody built this machine, I don't know. But it is very easy to build. It is not a very difficult. Of course, the cables totally change, software change and everything. But when you can make a spaceship to go to the moon and land people on the moon and bring it back, making this kind of instrument is not a difficult thing to do. But we did it. We did it for the first time in the world. And then we went on measuring on human subject, and we were very grateful to the government of India sponsoring us for the whole project. And this is wait, it's faster than me. How come? Yeah, so what we did is we connected with one human brain, and then we connected with the artificial brain. So our idea is consciousness is coming from the whole universe is like a resonance chain. And I am also a resonance chain, a part of it. So I need the threshold length to measure the maximum fundamental nodes of the whole universe. If I can estimate that in that small resonance chain, then I call it conscious. Then I call it it is able to understand what is happening. It's almost like the Vedic concept, but the resonance chain, the symmetry, triplet. In this way, no one explained in the Hindu literatures in the last 5,000 years. I can tell you with guarantee, because I mean, so far I have studied. Somebody might have said it, but I have looked much deeper into it. So you see the 84 snapshots are there. So what we are doing is on the top left, you see that EEG, that is 1 to 40 hertz. And then we go on millisecond, microsecond, and nanoseconds, and we see two brains side by side. So what I'm saying is that if you put EEG machine on one person's brain, you have so many disturbing thoughts, so many things. You can't see the human being's true mind. You need very close to that. Very close to that. I have in my lab, I can I can rotate the camera and can you see something? Fibers and some balls over there, the fibers. So that is the kind of a real brain. And what so so we need to compare both the things side by side so that we can find out the invariant, what doesn't change. So this is another very fun, interesting thing. In the conventional wisdom, when you try to make a decision or try to do management, what you find? You find the variables. Who is controlling? What is changing? But what we do is what doesn't change. So you will find that lots of humiliating remarks about the monks and others, that they are silently sitting there, liabilities for the society and something like that. And they always try to find what doesn't change. What doesn't change? So it is a network of invariant. So yeah, I have a computer. It is still running now, the quantum computer that we have built in this principle. And then we look at the invariant network. So variables are there, but who is connecting them? E is equal to mc square is there, but c square is the most important part, E proportional to m, but c square is the invariant that changes the whole worldview. And that is so beautiful, because you have left side, you have area, and right side, you have mass. They don't match. So we go on, we connected 8 people, and we increased 1%, 2%, 3%. When you see all the time domain simultaneously in everybody's brain, now time has come to see whether a person is singularly conscious or it's a collectively conscious. So that is very, very important, because if I am alone in a distant planet, say Mars, should I be conscious if I'm not connected to everything? Or I need to minimum number of people, or minimum number of interacting element with my brain to be conscious. And so this question we wanted to answer. So we put in the dark room 8 persons, and then we connected their brain, and then we played. I don't know whether those videos play or not, but I will see. So this is. If you pronunciate Om, you get 12 these fundamental nodes. And this is the vortex that is created. So in Sanskrit literature or hymns, you have to understand that there was also argument in Vedic tradition more than 7,000 years back, that you have to create a language where every single letter you utter from yourself, from your heart, that would create the exact sensation that it should be for its physical perception. So Sanskrit, if you read the hymns of, and then I was so surprised that it was so visionary, that somebody is arguing to invent a language, and the true language. So that's why every single letter in Sanskrit has a meaning, and you can connect, like Kha is a sky, Cha is movement, Ra is continuous, Khechara is bird. So Ma is the creator, so Rama is the continuously creating, who is creating, so like Vishnu, so Avatara. So you can find letters combining and then creating. But each letter, when you pronunciate, there is a very subtle way. If you pronunciate, that vortex of sound waves will be created, and it will enter inside you, and that will give you. That's why the sound, how do you pronounce it, is very, very important to deliver the proper message. And that's why for 2,000 years they didn't allow writing the Veda. So this is Om, and we created this. This is the, if you count, there are triplet, and there are 12 notes. So the triplet of triplet that we observed, and the 12 bands that was there. So let's dive into all the Sanskrit letters, and to the right hand side, the vortex that it is generating, because I wanted to find out the origin of hymns. Why these intelligent people in India for thousands of years, they were not allowing writing. Only they were, even now you find those stupid guys, they make hard work, I mean, to pronunciate it absolutely correctly. So if you look at the vortex shapes, and then you can find video stopped. Yeah, so you will find I have rotated the vortex shape, the 3D vortex that is generated when you perfectly pronunciated Sanskrit letters. And I have rotated it horizontally also to give you a 3D feeling that what they actually try to create. So I have spent, I mean, years to understand this particular purity. No one has ever presented you like this, but when they speak, I listen to them, they talk philosophically, but I have tried to put it in scientifically that actually they are trying to say that create the vortex right. Vortex means 3D field in which you will take a bath, and then the proper sensation will generate in you. Okay, so so have you anybody heard the name Ajay Chakravarti Pandit? No, he is a very good Bengali singer, and then he's a student. He came to our lab, and can you hear the sound?
No, I think it was probably not shared when he shared the chart deck.
Can you hear now?
No, I don't think so. Oh, yes, no.
This is a conversation between an artificial brain and a human brain. So in between you will find human brain is talking and then artificial brain is responding to it. There is no software, there is no interpretation. Just listen. Sometimes you'll find the human. The reason I was playing that was they were not listening to each other, but when you listen, I mean, the sound quality is not good, but you can actually listen that one person sings and we couple both the brains and then we allow them to interact because if there is a resonance chain, there is a synchronization. If you make the sound and he will make the sound and we focus it with a big sound speaker. So the vibrations, the mechanical vibrations, both of them getting to see each other, and we try to see the musical harmony that was happening. And this person was literally crying after when it finished because it is a long recording, but I wanted to say that how we do it. The left-hand side in the black screen, we get the pulses. So basically, you will never see this kind of situation ever. Because this is the first time we are looking into the brain into nanosecond hundreds of nanoseconds, microseconds domain, in which your brain part, and to the right side, we have plotted almost like my friend Martin Timms has created this software where we give an EEG-like presentation. Top right corner, you see the EEG. Okay, and we find out the circular, because the circles, you see circles were moving in the top video and it was converting into frequency. So basically from the artificial brain, we put the EEG and we convert the time domain, the music. So basically what we were trying to see is that if there is a natural synchronization, and there is no evidence that it is conscious, we also don't want to claim that it is conscious. We don't want to make a conscious machine. We want to make something that is very close to the brain and responds in a complex, completely different scenario. We are at a very primitive stage, but it will go on. Similarly, we coupled, and then we coupled 8 persons EEG is there. So that you can understand little bit sound. So this is Shiva Stotram. So what we did is we look at the EEG of 8 persons brain. We look at the megahertz region actual signal that is synchronizing all of the 8 brains, and then we looked at into gigahertz, that is nanosecond time domain, and kilohertz, and then we take a live video. Then we take the thermal camera, thermal radiation that is happening all the human subjects. I don't think that anywhere in the world such a extensive level of collective interaction between the brain was done. So when we played this music, Shiva Stotram, there was one kind of rhythm. The rhythm changed when we put some smell in the room, and it was single peak. Yeah, I don't want to play all the videos, but all the videos are something like this. We give food to them, and then we desynchronize their brain. So basically the same brain in the EEG, you don't see any difference. But when you go to the DDG, hard time domain, then you find that their architectures are coming up. And not only that, we found which are the geometric shapes remain invariant in the brain. And we found from 1 subject, 2 human subjects, 3 human subjects, 4 human subjects. And then we increase up to 8 human subjects and found 8 is the threshold number when you get 3D invariant, geometric invariant. So the consciousness becomes complete with 8, maybe you can think of. So you can make a lot of decisions from how do we take the invariance, and then we entered into finding the invariant. So this is Shiva's dance form. So every this is if you take this mudras and if you 3D rotate and find out the 3D elements. So it's a triplet of triplet elements that you can find, and this is with 2 hands. So we rotate it in a 3D way because in the dance forms, I think Padma Navana, in her research article, she articulated that just one pose is not enough. And one pose to another pose, the transition is very important. So we were trying to look into those kind of transitions, how geometric invariance for consciousness. It is said that if you can understand 108 dance forms of Shiva, you can understand the consciousness. Okay, so let me find out all the invariants into it, and then we will see whether those claims are real or fake. And when your body moves, then the 3D transformations of the geometric shapes happen like this. So these are 36, 36, 36, total 108 forms that we have. And then we did severe calculations to find out how different human perceptions are connected and cognitions are connected to it. And once we learned this, what is the application? So not just we can change our life, the way we are making decisions looking into confusions, architecture of confusions, finding out where is Sattva Rajatama, that is who is binding, who is transforming, and what property is there. And three of them together creates one decision, and that would be the invariant shape. We created a smallest life form in the planet. So that is this. So it has 32 molecular motors and one sensor, and we have decision-making element inside, together 10 nanometer only. So we synthesized, designed and synthesized and built it, and we are checking its intelligence properties, how it can solve. So not only we are going above human, we are going below human. That is even 10 nanometer, less than a virus. Can you get the intelligence into that? So if we have a resonance chain, a hypothesis. So that's what I was telling, that what we do is we say something, but we try to walk the talk. So basically, last 13, 14 years, you find many research articles on this particular machine. And I don't think anybody in the world try to build a single 10 nanometer machine where you put sensors, you put all the elements, and then try to see whether it can solve the maze problem. Maze problem, you know, is a hallmark of AI, artificial intelligence. I don't have the slide, otherwise I could have shown it to you. And this is the quantum computer we are now building for the future, advancing this. And so finally, universe is a frequency fractal and consciousness is its music. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you. So I was hearing from some people saying this is above my pay grade kind of thing. It's difficult to understand, but I think you brought it nicely home toward decision making with the testing out with sort of how the resonance happens. Right? Your whole thing is that why do we have a sense of time in our mind? Our brain produces a mind, which is a time sense. It's all time crystals and sort of levels of frequency at various levels. So what does it mean in terms of even the Libet experiments, you know, right? That people knew 400 milliseconds or a few hundred milliseconds ahead of time, thing happened, and after that, the whole action happened. Could you explain why that is like 100 milliseconds, whereas actually what you were suggesting was that, you know, it's like every interaction is really happening at all levels, nanoseconds and millisecond, micro and all that stuff. Can you explain how that, why a few hundred milliseconds earlier we sort of have a notion of what we'll do before we do it?
So so basically I have to look into those results, because honestly speaking, even before I look at something, I can imagine and intuitively create similar kind of brain response. I understand it, but I have no idea about something, and something is going to come, and still I am able to find out those kind of things have connected to this going to the past, and then so many non-scientific things are attached to that. I would like to avoid myself commenting into that, because many of the research that I can intuitively think that before you show me a picture, that you are going to show me that kind of picture, then it can happen in my, and that logically I can understand. But I have no idea what are you going to say, completely different, and still my brain senses something. I feel I have talked to those researchers who have published this kind of papers by their experiment. I feel they are too much into the domain of religion, and then too much into domain of faith, and they want to have a leverage point of time where they would keep it preserved for the existence of God. And when I'm saying that resonance chain, I'm not keeping anything left for God.
Right.
I don't know.
Can you also think? Thank you. What does DDG stand for, just for everybody's
Duodeconogram. So basically 12 time bands, we are looking simultaneously, mapping it. We are saying that if you look at a one-time domain snapshot, you are looking at the whole consciousness picture emerges in that 1 trillion pictures. And then you look at just one, and then you claim that that is the true picture of the mind, then I think that is too primitive.
So EEG is one picture, whereas DDG makes it like trillion sort of pictures, right?
Yeah.
Extraordinary. Okay, let me open up for questions. That's really, yeah, please. From whatever perspective you want to ask, like decision making or science behind it or quantum or whatever. I'm sure Anirban can field it.
Hi, actually, this is Sangeeta. I had a quick question. On your slide where you showed the circles, what was the decision criteria to term them Rajas or Tamas? Like, how did you figure that out?
Okay. So basically, we see, suppose a periodic event are happening. You see in your screen, two periodic events are happening. That means, say, two, Hokkaido, these birds, husband and wife, they do the paired dance. So if two periodic events are happening and they are coupling always, irrespective of time, space, and remain there as a coupled, then it is tamas. And then when they are transforming their structure, suppose a couple of periodic events are there and they are suddenly changing their shape. Like you had a morning routine, but suddenly in the night, there was a plan that tomorrow morning you will go out for a drive, whole day drive into the forest and something. All your morning routine gets transformed and you readjust the whole thing into a different way. That is rajas. So basically you had a pattern of doing all the morning tasks and you squeeze it and you change the spatio-temporal architecture into a different thing. Then I call it rajas. And when you look at particular set of events and then you intuitively in your mind, you think that if the things go on, like suddenly, I want to give you an example. Suddenly, if you are in home and you are seeing the behavior of say your son or your husband or fathers or your brothers, suddenly changing, they are becoming more irritated, they are getting something, and you intuitively you decide that okay, something bad is going to come to my family because something the order of the piece structure is not right. So you go to the future, you take the projection and then put it back and then do. So that is called, say, sattva. So in case of us, when we see the couple of patterns and they are repeating itself in many different time domain, a set of pattern or set of clocks or periodic events that used to happen and different time domain, different scale it is happening, that time we decide that these clocks are showing a sattvic behavior or sattva property.
Okay, very interesting. Thank you.
Jerry, do you want to ask something about the oneness experience? What would it look like in DDG? Something like that, whatever. Unmute yourself, please. Any comments?
Yes. Oops. Well, I have to admit that most of it I didn't have a clue. What it was way above my head, but there were a couple of things that I found interesting. One was the spirals, and because like you were saying, there's spirals all over the place. And then when you were playing the music and like the Om sound and the brains were resonating with each other, to me that was interesting. It kind of reminded me of like in Close Encounters of the Third Kind when they were playing the notes and then the aliens heard the same notes and then I don't know if this has anything to do with research, but it reminded me of that. And there's also I think Gregory Braden put out something called the God Sounds, where he was saying that if you take the 4-letter words for the 4 Hebrew letter words for God and you put the vowels in there, it sounds like it almost sounds like the chakras. Because if you're going up the chakras and you're going so his thing goes the reverse way. It's like So to me that when you were playing that, just reminded me of that. I mean, the whole idea that you could create an artificial brain is kind of amazing to me. I think the idea of the frequency. Again, I'm just talking on it because most of it I didn't understand. Does any of this kind of resonate with what you were talking about in terms of frequencies? And because that's what I got out of it.
Yeah. So basically, we what we are trying to do is to map. We are saying that there is no magic frequency. There is a wide range of in the entire time domain. You don't
Right.
look at one time domain, you don't look at one frequency, but instead you look at the pattern of frequencies. There is a self-similarity and there is a structure there. And there is a pattern over there. We need to discover that to begin to understand what is mind and what is consciousness and what is the structure. We cannot, I find it in the internet, many things. These are the magical frequencies. Those are the things. That's why I showed Om. If you see the Om structure, the vortex that is created is a 12 different nodes, antinode pattern in a complex way packed within a triplet. And there are 3 or 4 different layers of these structures. You can analyze each of them in a very different way, and you have to create it. And even then, it is not everything. It is just one unit of it.
Well, it reminded me, I remember, I forget who, the guy was saying that the 2 sounds, the universal sounds seem to be ah and om, ah and om. It cuts across, like it's in Vedic, but it's also in Jew. It's like universal sound patterns.
But
And,
since I'm seeing the picture behind you, the chakras on the t-shirt. So in the Vedic view, there is no one magical frequency. So they always, like you see, 47 different letters were created. Kang, kang, gang, gang, gang. So different part of the things, and then you try to build it up. So 47 they already selected, and those letters are there in Sanskrit, and they combine them to create those kind of things. For an example, some of the Krishna hymns, the Krishna vandanas. So you prayer. Actually, if you take the letters and cut apart the numbers, you find the pi. So it was coding and decoding of knowledge into frequencies, so that they are transferable to the perception.
What's so interesting was, from what I know about Kabbalah, Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism,
yeah,
they did a lot of the same kind of stuff. They took the letters and the vowels and were doing very similar things. And I mean, it's in a totally different part of, unless they had back then some kind of interaction with each other. The fact that, so many across the world coming up with something similar is kind of, and then tying it in with what you're finding now scientifically with quantum physics and stuff, to me is amazing.
So basically,
Jerry, let me go to Anant. Yeah, let's just get more questions. Sorry, Anirban. Anant, please ask your question.
Yeah, thank you. Very fascinating research. The first question is this acronym SOMU. What does it stand for? I saw it in a few times on your slides.
What?
This is acronym SOMU on your slide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Since I have to create a mathematical. So in this presentation, since audience is very different, so I try to give a glimpse of the philosophy. So actually, it's a mathematical, very complex mathematical structure. So we call it self-operating mathematical universe. So we created the mathematical formulations, higher dimension tensors. For an example, Sudeshna is present here. I asked her to be. So she is working on finding high dimensional tensor. For an example, quaternion, octonion. So for an example, when in string theory you create, then what you do, you take to explain 12 dimensions, because you consider that whole universe is made of a string. String vibrates, and then the whole universe is created. But here it's different. It's a spring, not string, not a wire. It's a spring, and that spring actually projects the vortices. And so it's a projector, holographic projector, spring, spiral, and that spiral change its length, pitch, and diameter to create those kind of things. So we created a mathematical tensorial form, 4x4. It is in Vedic literature we call it Chautisha. So Chautisha is 4x4 tensors. First tensors were more than 200 BC and Pingala's time. So they started with if you go for 8x8, if you go for 11x11, how the tensor would look like. So we want to go up to 108 into 108, look at the tensor, and then look at inside. So I would like to add my comment by saying that if you see any string theory, you will find to create 12 dimension, they took a 4-dimensional tensor and added with a warp factor, that is Star Trek movies warp. So warp factor into a 8-dimensional tensor, because for 200 years we created only quaternion and octonion, 4 and 4, 4 into 4 and 8 into 8, as if other tensor cannot exist. But if you go to the other tensors and when you try to build them, you will find a beautiful, beautiful structure. You know that Einstein proposed a theory of relativity in 2015, but with Michael Grossman from 2013 to 2015, he learned tensor mathematics. But the tensor's beauty even then was 4 cross 4 and 8 cross 8, and still now. So when you have 108 dimension, 108 into 108, that's all giant tensors. Inside those are tensors. So universe inside an universe inside an universe. Then you can create SOMU, self-operating mathematical universe. So which runs by itself. Different imaginary worlds interact with themselves. Because I have to do that, right? I cannot have a programmer writing the program for quantum computer after 20, 30 years. Who will write? If the big data is changing, how can you do that? You can't. You need somebody, some system which will be archive of all possible symmetries in the universe and the laws of breaking the symmetries of the universe. Then only the true artificial intelligence will come. Otherwise, it's just a compilation of human instructions.
One more quick one, if there.
Let's go with Manjula. Let's go with Manjula, maybe.
Yeah.
Hi. I just am wondering, because you mentioned about circles and coming back to the same point in time, and I'm just wondering what your thoughts are about global consciousness, and if it is something that's present in past, present, and future dimensions collapsing, or is that because we're always taught to think about past, present, and future. But if you're coming back to the same point in time and you're talking about wisdom and global consciousness, just curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, so basically it is almost like the thought of Virata Purusha. So it is like the whole humanity is like a whole human body. So everybody, nobody is equal to anybody, but everybody has a fundamental contribution to make for the body to run. For an example, I have nose, I have hand, I have legs. So it could be different races. And just to give this evidence, we are now planning to start 108 episodes for Virata Purusha television. Each one episode will have one event. So first event I would like to tell to give answer to yours. You know about this Noah's Ark. Noah took 2 animals, one male, one female from the forest, put it on the boat, and then he went on for traveling, and then in the flood, and then he saved the mankind. Do you know that in Hinduism we have Manu, and this flood is called a Manvantar, and then the story is very different. Here there was a fountain, and a fish falls into his hand, Manu's hand, and Manu then asks the fish, says that, save me. Where would I go? The salt water ocean is going to eat everything. And then he creates a boat. He takes Saptarishis, all the wisdom, but he takes all the fishes, which is totally absent in the story of Noah's Ark. Now you will find similar story in Africa, in some part of Africa, where they created a boat, but they took all the insects. So we found at least 15-20 stories from different part of the world of great flood, and all of them are fundamentally different, but together they say that humanity is just one life form. They were thinking, they were doing different tasks, different works. So, but they were one. So equality, I'm totally against the word equality. It is dangerous, it is anti-Vedic, and we say collectively we are part of we have to take it as everybody is important in their own way. Only then there could be unity and global consciousness. Otherwise, equality is only a method, a political method to suppress others' view and push yours agenda. So my theory of global consciousness is consider whole humanity as a living life form, and each race or each culture and other things are blooming like a different flower, just like you need every part of your body, thousands and thousands of proteins, all of them are important. They do some job or other, and then they reappear.
Thank you.
That's a very wholeness related perspective, that humanity as a whole is also one. And then within that, every human being is one. And probably
Yeah,
with that.
but the important part of it is that everyone is different.
Yes.
No one, and they are original and they are important. They can make fundamental contribution for the whole. So that's the Hindu view. That's the Vedic view. That's the I mean, your view. You are also promoting. Yeah, we are trying to say that we are totally against equality.
Ravi, you would have some thoughtful questions. Sorry, Anant, I'm just trying to provide it. Yeah.
No, I'm a bit
Some-
dumbfounded, but the last part is very, very integrative because it gives an overall message, the wholeness message. And I kind of agree with the overall message. But I found one aspect, because I'm an engineer, you know, when you use resonance as seeing the same thing, resonance is equated to consensual perception of those two brains. And that I find hard to accept, because as an engineer, I worked a lot on Lessage's figures, and different external stimuli can give rise to the same frequencies. So for example, if I show you a chaotic picture, it results in some output frequency, but a different external stimulus can produce the same frequency. So
Yeah, then
resonance doesn't really mean same common perception. But I'm not trying to be argumentative.
Yeah,
This is really fascinating. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, it's good. I think it's resonating at very deep levels with us, something, you know, in our various levels. And okay, let's hear from one or two other people who've been around. Thank you for all the patience, and you've gone through all of this thing. Anybody else would like to ask a question? So we will make this video obviously available later, but if you have any questions, you can ask now. Okay, nothing. Anant, you want to go ahead and ask a question again, and then we'll wrap.
Yeah, quickly, you mentioned about Gautama's Vaishiki Sutra. So for a novice, what is a good place to explore more about it?
Yeah, just to go and Google search Doctrine of Doubt, and then you will find lots of literatures, and they have gone through the hymns, and then line by line they have shown how the definition is there. It's like they say that he said, kind of comparing you to the onion, that if you try to find any topic you take and try to go deeper, you will take all the parts of the onions and you will go to the deepest part, but you will never find the root, because the root doesn't exist. The journey from when you take out all the part of the onions, all the layers, the solution is there. It's a totally different view than what we are doing it today, the bit by bit. But you reach a conclusion, a conclusive decision. So even the phrase, the language that we use, you know, we are so much biased towards it. Even when I did this presentation, how many times I said, I want to tell logically, because I have also been trained with the system. I'm just trying, as I said, I'm a student. I'm trying to think in the way they used to think. I'm trying to learn. But if anybody scrolls through when Anil will upload this, then he will find out many phrases I used from this worldview, that the worldview, whole world, all the kids in the world are being trained to think without knowing that they are thinking only one worldview, that every single information could be written in a single sentence.
Thank you. So Anirban, I'll make one more comment around the point that you clarified on me when I went to wholeness, and you said every part is different. And I've been saying it from an Ayurveda perspective. Every cell, we have like how many, 10 or 30 trillion cells. Every cell is important. It renews, it dies, and all this. Every organ, every cell has, you know, organ system, organelle, order. And it's like, and cancer happens when one particular set of cells begins to say, I'm the big shot, and begin to grow and sort of, or for good or bad reasons, they begin to grow and sort of push out some other cells. And that's what cancer becomes
Yes.
like malignant. Otherwise, cancerous growths are happening all the time and they get like beaten up by other guys, or you get back in shape. And every cell is important in its own right. And I feel like, I say that every cell just needs a couple of things. Give me nutrition, take away my waste, like water and other stuff. This is so everybody has very basic structure, but then every cell is important. So it takes, yeah.
Another important thing, every cell learns and modifies itself. And when the new cell is formed, it is always better and much more adaptive to the modified environment. That's why kills itself and replaces with another one. So the conscious beings that are getting generated in the whole universe, many places, maybe apart from humanity or the plants or the animals or whatever, replacement is nature makes the replacement to replace it with a better one, with an alternate. Because I am doing it in this last 1 hour or so. I mean, so many cells in my body I have replaced. They were killed and replaced. Proteins, they were destroyed because they were vibrating, and they deformed, they got twisted in a way that sorry.
So let me ask a
function.
future-looking statement. I could ask a lot about management, but looking ahead, with AI is kind of deconstructing everything. All the industries are getting sort of bundled because all information processing at some level. Looking ahead, your kind of DDG kind of thing or the artificial brain thing, look ahead 2, 3, 4, 5 years. What do you see?
Yeah.
10.
So basically AI is going to stay here, because when you create the own rules of the world where you are living, where you are educating your kid with 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, you are making your instruments as 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. Follow the instructions. So the time has not come for those machines which can think by themselves, which can think bigger, greater, longer. And those panic which is being created, that will come and then with a big gun, they will kill. Already we have enough of bad guys to kill. So nothing to worry about those AIs, because you have better killing machines. I mean, lots of killing machines are there. Humanity will continue to invent with the AI, the new killing machines. And we would continue to invent machines to let human think that there is a much deeper way to go. So the quantum computer that I have in the lab, we are not doing it 2 + 2 = 4. No. We are doing it that I give you an unknown pattern. Can you find out what is the mystery? What is the elementary fundamental rule in there? So I feel that raising the consciousness by giving the product that can have the wholeness. All our products that is created in this current civilization are discrete, isolated, to serve the purpose of one. But if we have a system, for an example, when we saw that 8 people together is developing beautiful higher degree of consciousness, it was when we saw the data, then it was kind of very pleasing and satisfying that, wow, I'm not alone. I mean, I have, they are connecting together. So in the 4 or 5 years, I would like to, right now we have only one artificial brain where you can sing in your own way or talk. We have not put any software because we want to learn. We do not want to create sensation or surprise or a mode of shock. Instead, create these complex architectures and this higher level within an above system. For an example, Ravi Chinta, he commented that Lisa Jo's figure you get. Definitely, he cannot think beyond one circuit or a set of resonators. But when we put resonators within an above architecture, how will it behave? I don't think that there are many research that has happened or those technologies happened. Why not bring those devices in front of you, and then more and more devices, And also there are many things in this system I have not understood. I want to understand more. So in 5 years, I would like to design products that can come to the hand of the common people, that then let them think about the wholeness. That's the only way. When your consciousness level go beyond a level, beyond certain level, then the world peace can be achieved, or humanity will be in a good shape, I think.
Hey, you made my day. You closed on world peace. Thank you. Okay. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll
Bye-bye.
stop thank you. Bye-bye. And I'll stop the recording.